Nice early morning one, getting a few minutes late head start. Buddy Al is here watching me take off, so hopefully get a good third-person video. Thanks for coming out again. All right. Thank you. Pray for me for this takeoff.
As you probably saw from the last episode, at the end of yesterday's flight, I was fortunate enough to be able to land at my home field just south of Omaha in Plattsmouth, Nebraska. I needed to keep moving though, so I wasn't able to stay long. After about 4 hours of sleep, I was back at the field 30 minutes before sunrise to try and make it as far north as possible following the Missouri River.
Slow and methodical. Garmin coming on, throttles in hand, brakes, A's, center of pressure. That looks good right there. Strobe. You see just a little bit of wind. Give me something here. Come on. Okay. 3, 2, 1. See ya. Every time. That is such a thrill. Man. Okay, so first things first, as I trek northeast, I have to stay under Offutt's Class Charlie, which has a ceiling of 2,500 feet, which works for me, because I think being low is going to be the play anyway. Also, something else. I realized yesterday that I did one of the cardinal sins of aviation, and I accidentally flew away with the crew car key in my pocket from Higginsburg. So I had to mail those back. Those yellow lights there are one of the easiest ways to identify Offutt Air Force Base. You can see them from 70 miles away. So if we're like trying to shoot the visual approach in the rivet joint, we can essentially say field in sight from 100 miles away, which is pretty cool. This is already shaping up to be a beautiful sunrise flight. Joining the Missouri River here, I'm going to have to fly pretty well east of it, unfortunately, to get around the Class C. Some pretty cool bridges here. You have 3 different ones. You got a automobile bridge, a railway bridge, and something pretty unique, a pipeline bridge. It just pushes like oil and stuff. Something about Omaha is actually a rail town. So a lot of trains end up actually intersecting through here. If you're actually like a train spotter, Omaha is actually a pretty good place to visit. You can see some pretty unique engines, and they have a museum and some other stuff here that's definitely worth a look. And there's the Missouri. We're going to say goodbye to it for a little while due to the Class C. So this Love's gas station here is actually one of my gas stops that I had proposed as an option. It would have been a good one. Lots of open fields. This dirt lot in the back was the one I was looking at most. Would have been a really easy takeoff. I'm going to have to climb over these hills here to stay out of the Class C. And I'm expecting some squirrely air, so I'm going to climb a little bit higher. I have another 1,000 feet I can use. That's my home base, Offutt Air Force Base, home of the RC-135. Alright, here's the Council Bluffs Airport, which I really don't have a good way of avoiding, unfortunately. I'm just going to try to get past it quickly and keep scanning actively for any air traffic. That crossing runways means no matter what I do, I'm in the approach corridor for one of them. Thankfully, with the wind today, they'll be landing opposite direction I'm going, which means it'll be left patterns. So I should be out of their way, even if there was somebody in the pattern. Not only that, I'm also below their pattern, so should be Gucci. And it looks like it's pretty clear right now anyway. On another note, that's about as close as I can get to Omaha, my hometown, and it's kind of sad to be saying goodbye to it, because I'd love to be home right now. But with that said, these morning flights are so beautiful and make it all worth it. Man, the sunrise is so gorgeous as it just lights up these hills. Breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. The city of Omaha lit up by the sun too. Very pretty. Where are you out of, I wonder? So this bend in the river is a wildlife refuge. I think they have bald eagles here that they allow to roost and hunt. Pretty cool, but also means I can't fly over it unless I'm 2,000 HEL, which I'm not right now and don't want to climb that high if I can avoid it, so I'm just going to go around it. Just empty plains as far as the eye can see. It looks almost like a video game world. Just perfectly flat. Man, the morning air and the sun are beautiful. Sunrise flights are just the best. It's as smooth as glass up here, which is surprising considering I've got like a 10-mile-an-hour tailwind right now, just pushing me north. This small town is the town of Decatur. Has a pretty nice little bridge too, crossing over the Missouri River. As a flight plan update, the wind's down low of us. It's starting to become almost a headwind, so I'm climbing to see if I can find something better. You can see the smokestacks here and there. The smoke is blowing to the east, but up here I've actually got a pretty good wind blowing to the west, so it completely switches in altitude. Convenient for me since I actually need to start turning west. In the meantime, this is the town of Sioux City, South Dakota. We're about to cross the state line, and that'll be the third state that I'm in today. This is a really cool shot. You have the bridge crossing the river, the town of Vermillion, North Dakota, and then the river winding off into the distance. Here's another view of Yankton, their airport, and this really cool bridge that crosses between Nebraska and South Dakota. This is the town of Yankton. Pretty large town in South Dakota. Unfortunately, though, the airfield is Class E surface, which is one of the few that even with a radio we can't get clearance into. Other than that, just empty plains, more kicking windmills. Another fun fact, the Missouri River is actually dammed up here in Yankton, and that dam backs up the river enough and creates an enormous river lake called Lake Andes. And it goes for like 200 miles or something. It's massive. All along the north edge, you have these like cliff faces that look really sick, actually. These would be really fun to play around down low if you have flotation, which for this journey I did not bring any. You can tell the altitude, how tiny these boats are that are ripping around on the lake. Finally, some elevation change again. Has some pretty nice little hills rolling down into the lake here. This whole lake looks like there's a bunch of like dry sandbars. Looks like a really cool place to go fly camping. So this is the small town of Tyndall, South Dakota. Looks like a nice little spot. And they have a good golf course over here. Other views, windmill farm out here that most of them are not turning, which looks promising. And then we're leaving Lake Andes behind out here. Currently at 6,400 feet at 44 miles an hour. And then we have the small town of Avon also right here. Really cool how you have this big open, just desolate landscape and then these tiny towns just pockmarked with actually a pretty good highway between them, which is confidence inspiring for engine outs. The small town of Wagner, which was one of my fuel stops at their municipal airport that I'm going to be able to bypass. This lake, which I'll get later, is the Lake Andes National Wildlife Refuge. Alright, it's looking like I'm going to get to Platte Municipal with about 30 minutes of fuel left in the tank, which is perfect. It's low enough that I don't feel like I left a bunch of ground on the table, but also high enough that I don't get a ton of range anxiety as I'm approaching. Running myself out of gas yesterday was not a wise choice. I gotta say, overall, that flight was not that bad, at least so far. It was relatively smooth, had a pretty good tailwind the whole way. I'm fighting some pretty moderate, maybe a little more than moderate, some pretty moderate thermals here as I come into land. But I am landing at noon in the Great Plains. So it's going to be some active piloting all the way into the field. Then we'll figure out what the wind direction's doing. It's always interesting to me when I'm in turbulence how way less concerning it feels when I'm lower to the ground. I know it's counter to logic because it's actually more safe to be higher if you took a collapse. But something about having your perspective anchored to the ground just makes it mentally feel a lot more tolerable. Something else I end up doing is I end up way underestimating my glide ratio. Where I think I need to start idling to make it to a field is actually way earlier. So I end up coming in kind of high. Well, it doesn't look like they have a crew car. Pretty full windsock though. I might want to trim out. Nah, it's still got a decent elbow in it. I'll be alright. It is warm down here. I have to open up those vents for sure. I'm just not descending. It's the thermals keeping me up. Ish. There it is. Some sink. on down. Okay, I'll just Cobra you down then.
This was another flight over 6 hours, but I was able to make it 250 miles pretty comfortably thanks to the decent tailwinds.
Alright, one more successful flight and landing.
I was hoping to make another flight today, but after walking my things into the FBO and checking the weather, there was going to be a band of severe clear air turbulence directly over my flight path to the north for the rest of the afternoon. This would be very dangerous to fly in, so I opted to stay on the ground and call it a day. My next task was to get into town for some food and gas. While there wasn't a crew car here, there was a number to call for the airport manager, who offered to give me a ride, which I gladly took him up on to avoid a 4-mile walk in the 100-degree heat. After filling up my fuel bladders and getting some Subway, I settled down in the FBO for a much-needed break for the rest of the day. The next morning, after waking up from my bed in the FBO recliner, I got dressed, ate some leftover Subway for breakfast, and set up for another early morning takeoff.
Once again, 30 minutes before sunrise. Let's get her done. Purring like a kitten. Alright, another short flying day, most likely today. But should be able to catch a pretty good tailwind. 2, 1, see ya. Every time. Such a thrill. Alright, we're at our cruising altitude of 5,000 feet. We'll be here for a while. That's the town of Chamberlain. There's some pretty sick bridges crossing the Missouri River as we rejoin with it, and we'll follow it for a ways here. To our right, vast emptiness of the Great Plains. To our left, some decent little mountains, hills along the river. But other than that, more Great Plains out to the west. If you look here, there's a crop duster ripping around low. We can actually watch him spray this field. This is going to be cool. Yep, there he goes again, spraying. Well, get it, brother. Now, this part of the river, there really is not a lot of civilization. It's pretty isolated out here. Small town of Selfridge, North Dakota, and then beyond that is just a bunch of endless plains, not even cultivated. All right, so we have this interesting lake here, and then some buttes, and some beautiful rolling hills from the Dakota Badlands. We're still getting a kicking tailwind, what a blessing. And my fuel calculations show us running out of gas 10 minutes after we arrive. So we should have just enough to get there. These cliffs blow me away. You can see the Missouri River just on the horizon over here in the Badlands in this small river valley. Nothing too crazy, but these are the sights that keep you entertained on a flight like this. So this here is the town of New Salem, and if you follow it down over here to this creek and road crossing, this is apparently called Judson, so yeah, shout out Judson. So freaking cool. Oh, they're just working on it. There's like 3 trucks driving away from this one. I know these things, oh look. They actually have a spare blade for this one. They're probably going to change out. I bet that's a cool job. But just like anything, I imagine it just becomes work after a while. But it's like the things we do so frequently just become routine. It's easy to take for granted. All right, we're on the descent now into Mercer County Regional Airport. I'm going to start putting my things away and getting ready for landing here. I expect it to get pretty thermic as we start descending down. Wind is strong enough that direction isn't going to be a problem, so I'm going to turn this off now and put it away. Don't need navigation anymore, I can see the field. We are trim 0. This is coming into the lap. Okay, we cinch these. Perfect. All right. All right. Let's check for air traffic. There's nobody in the pattern. Nobody on final. Okay, one last check of final. Nobody. Which one is the FBO? That's gotta be this one. Alright, maybe something off the asphalt here. I always underestimate my glide. I do it every time. Alright, and a thermal rising. Come on down. Come on down. Gonna get dumped. There it is. Ooh! Squirrely. Alright. Calm down. Not on that. Alright. Ooh! Always an adventure.
This flight was a special one, Because of the consistent low-level tailwind and incredible fuel efficiency I'd been getting, I was able to travel 305 miles this morning, which set new U.S. records for both straight line distance and track distance covered by a paramotor in a single flight.
Let's get out of the grass.
I walked my things into the FBO and was very happy to see that this was the nicest one yet. This is the Mercer County FBO. It's got food, got the motor, all my stuff I'm doing, the wing in the corner, and then there's the sleeper room right here. It's like a small hotel room with a bathroom, hey, and a shower. Oh man, I'm glamping. This is insane. So nice. As much as I wanted to keep going and put in more miles a day, conditions deteriorated fast. I tell you what, I'm glad I landed here at Mercer County when I did, because check this out. 19 gust 26 looks like. Can't even get the door closed. Alright, so I got my fuel bladders here. I'm going to go to a gas station using the airport crew car there, fill up, and then grab something to eat and explore what this town has to offer, since it's very clear that I'm not flying today. Looking at that windsock and the winds right now, they're pretty nasty. I filled up on fuel and enjoyed a great meal at the town's only real restaurant, the Sassy Sasquatch, before returning to the FBO and turning in for the night. The next day, however, the weather was even worse. Turns out I'm currently parked under the worst band of wind in the country, with gusts over 50 miles an hour. So I spent the day doing some minor maintenance on the engine, enjoying another meal at the Sassy Sasquatch, and exploring the town. While I was at the FBO in the early afternoon, a madman somehow managed to land his Cessna at the field in the crazy conditions and got stuck here with me. So I had a buddy to talk to help pass the time before going to bed again and praying for flyable weather tomorrow. The next one's going to be a doozy, so stay tuned in for the next episode. And thanks for watching.